Hello again, everyone. Today I am doing another video in my series Perfect Fountain Pen Pairings. So today I have two Diamond 580 TWSBI pens, and one you've probably seen or at least heard me talk about many times on the channel before, and it being a perfect combination for this setup. I'm going to get to what that is in a minute, but I have also added a new pen and ink and nib combination in my TWSBIs that I consider to be a perfect combination. So this is the navy blue color, and this is the Prussian blue. So you can tell there's definitely quite a difference between the two colors. Prussian blue tends to run a little bit more teal, whereas the navy blue is a little bit more true navy or true blue. And if you look at the ink that is in here, the inks go very well together, and this one surprisingly so. So I'll talk about what that is in a minute, but let's go ahead and start with the Prussian blue here. So I have a sheet of Tomoe River paper here. I've just torn off the top because I had a little bit of writing at the top there, but hopefully that won't hinder your enjoyment. So this, like I said, it's a TWSBI Diamond 580 in the Prussian blue, and this has a fine nib. Those of you that have seen me talking about this before, I've been putting washi tape on my pens to indicate what nib size I have on them. So this is a fine nib, although you'll find that my other nib on this pen, which is an extra fine, actually writes more broadly than this fine nib. So it's also kind of to illustrate some differences in manufacturing and how your nib size is not always going to be consistent, but I'll get to that here in a minute. So this one has been a tried and true classic that I have used again and again. I've had it combined with my journal at various times because a fine nib is really great for writing in a calendar. This pen is one that I plan to keep the combination together for as long as I can get this ink. And what else can I say about this? Oh, one great thing about TWSBIs, and I know this has kind of been out there for a little while, is that I found that my TWSBIs never go dry. Basically, anytime I open a TWSBI, it is ready to go and ready to write. It never dries out. So that has been a really nice thing about TWSBIs, and part of the reason why I highly recommend them, especially for beginners. Maybe not the Diamond 580 for a beginner, but you know, it'd be fine. The TWSBI Eco model is very good for beginners. It's very inexpensive. It is a piston fill pen, but you know, it teaches you how to fill a piston right away, which is kind of nice. And it has a big ink capacity, and I really do like that. And these both, and most, pretty much all, I think, TWSBIs, except for maybe the newer models like the Swipe and stuff like that, are demonstrators. So you can see through to the ink, which is very nice, and which makes it really nice to have inks that go very well with the pen, because as you can see, both of these, they're very aesthetically pleasing as far as the matchy-matchy quality of the ink and the color of the pen. Okay, so this one is a TWSBI, and I'll put this closer to the camera so you can see it a little better too. This is a TWSBI Diamond 580, and this is a very, very smooth fine. This, again, these offerings are off-the-shelf offerings for the nib. I have not changed the nib on this pen. I have not changed the nib on the other pen. This one seems to be a little bit smoother than the other one, but I don't think I ever adjusted it. It's been really nice and smooth the whole time with a fine nib. And super lovely. And then the ink in here is Organic Studio. Aldous Huxley. This is definitely one of my all-time favorite pairings, just because the ink flows super well in this fine nib, and the color of the ink is a really great match to the pen. There is some sheen on here, so you're going to get some red sheen that you'll be able to see, which is also fun. I like that. But the color of the underlying ink there is definitely sort of a tealy blue that is very much like this Prussian blue. So let's go on to the next one, which is this navy blue. So this one is an extra fine, and as I was saying, you'll notice that this extra fine writes thicker than the fine. And I actually didn't really notice this until I wrote with them side by side and was like, wow, that's a really stark difference between the two. And this ink, which I did not know if it was going to be a perfect match, is actually a perfect match, and you might not have expected given the name of this particular ink. So this one is TWSBI. As you can see, it's so much broader. TWSBI Diamond. It could have something to do with the ink flow, the ink itself, with an extra fine nib. And again, this is the navy blue, and this one is the Prussian blue. Let me write that there. Also, even though this fine is finer than the extra fine, it is a little bit smoother. This one is just a tiny bit less smooth than that one. And then the ink that's in here is De Atramentis Document Fog Gray. So this doesn't look very gray, does it? It's pretty blue, and because this is a finer nib, it tends to make the ink appear darker, and it's a really great pairing for this particular navy blue pen. So there you go. That's all I had for you today. These two, this Perfect Pairings fountain pen series. Sometimes they can be short, sometimes they can be longer, but the point is really just to show you what I think are perfect pairings as far as the nib, the pen, and the ink go. Again, like my last video in this series, these are standard off-the-shelf offerings for the nib and the pens, which can be nice. One word of warning though, with the TWSBI nibs, they're not always consistent. I mean, you can already see a little bit of that here with the extra fine compared to the fine, clearly not being a progression on the extra fine, etc. But they generally write pretty well, and you can get off-the-shelf replacement nibs for these. So if for some reason you don't like one of your nibs that you have on a Diamond 580, it's really easy to swap out with a new one. And but if you do get a dud nib, you know, feel free to mention it to the person that sold you the pen, the shop that sold you the pen, or directly to TWSBI. All right, well, that's all I had for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel, and I hope to see you next time. But in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.